something that I have really trained myself to do is, and this is just, if you write comedy like I do, make yourself laugh and move on. Make yourself laugh and move on. I think you're always just, the character voice has to either, the character voice has to really contribute to to the story and how it's being told. And for me, that's always a question of, okay, find the laugh. That's making me laugh. Great. Now let it go. I am not going to I'm not going to splash around in this because the point has been made. Let's move on. I think that is part of it. And I think you do have to just look at yourself as the reader. You know, what is the kind of thing that I want to read is a question that I think you have to ask yourself at all times as a writer, because otherwise, I don't know, who are you writing this for? I do think at a certain point, you just have to, the idea of keeping the reader in mind, you know, you do have to be that reader.
Everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. It's the author podcast. We get to meet great authors from around the world. Now I'm getting really close to home here, which is exciting. And okay, how about that? Not just close to home, but when you hear the name of my guest, you'll be like, come on, was this planned? Yeah, it was, well, yeah. Curtis Campbell. Like, what kind of name is that, right? Campbell. Yes, Curtis Campbell. Come on, right? We are, maybe distant connection, maybe, I don't know. We have no idea, but Curtis is here. He's got a great last name. I'm a big fan. And we're talking about his books. He's got a new book coming out. He's got a book already out. He's got lots of stuff to talk about. Curtis, welcome to Living in the Next Chapter. Glad to have you here.
I should be so lucky to be distantly related. I should say that it is not my actual last name. It is a family name, but my real last name is very Dutch in a very specific way, and not in like a Van Doren kind of way. Like it's and I did very, after having my name just sort of butchered in the Canadian theater scene for a while, I was like, you know, I'm gonna just make this easier for people. And use that other name.
Yeah, my partner's last name. She's her family's from Holland, and her last name is Koeslag. It's Koeslag in Dutch, but it means cow kicking, which is fun. That's interesting.
Okay,
right? So
the Dutch are a very particular group of people with very particular last names.
Yes, and every time my partner sees a cow, she just has this innate sense to go kick it. So, you know.
Yeah.
No.
You can't fight your biology, you know?
There you go. All right, so we got lots in common. Cool.
We are.
As well, Curtis, I like to start here for our audience. I like to identify where you are in this big world of ours, because we have people listening around the world. So let people know where you are, Curtis.
I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Oh, well, you know, it's the center of the universe. Well, America is the center of the universe, but Toronto is the center of Canada.
Yes. Sure, we've alienated a lot of our Western Canada listeners right now. They're like, how dare you? But that Toronto is the center of the world. Yeah.
No, I mean, what's Western Canada?
Wow. Okay, we've just had people just exit the show, Curtis. Come on. I love it.
It really is. There really is something about Torontonians, like people who were born and raised in Toronto or the general Toronto, the greater Toronto area. Like even within their own province, you can give them a location that's maybe 3 hours away and just blank faces. So to say nothing, I mean, if they have ever acknowledged that there's a country between, Vancouver and Toronto, I haven't seen it.
There you go. I like it. Good stuff. Curtis, we have authors who listen to the show, and I always like to start here with my guests, because as the host of the show, I'm not an author, so I can't answer this question the way you can. But I have authors listening, and they're looking for inspiration. Maybe they are new to writing. Maybe they're young. student looking to write, but they're just beginning their journey, and you are further down the road than they are. Any words of wisdom that you can impart on the authors listening to the show from your perspective? Maybe something that would have been helpful for you to hear early on in your journey that maybe we can share with an author today?
Yeah. I mean, I think I was lucky enough to, like, there were a few people in my life who really encouraged me to sort of like keep my eyes on the prize, for I guess lack of a better phrase, but like there was like I sort of came of age as an artist in the theater, and the theater people and theater artists are very multi-hyphenate. And I was like, yeah, like this and this and this, but I was consistently writing plays. And there were a few people in my life who were like, sure, babe, you can do all of that other stuff. Like, it's not really going anywhere, but if you can write the plays, that's going to make stuff happen for you. That's going to put a lot of power in your, in your side of the court. So yeah, I don't know. I think for me, it's like, if you know specifically the direction that you want to head in as an artist, just head in that direction and let go of the multi-hyphenate stuff for now, because I think we're in this moment. It's very much a theater thing. I don't know if it's as much a thing in the literary world, but where people will like post their bio or have their bio in a program or something, and it's like, so-and-so is a blank hyphenate, blank hyphenate, blank hyphenate, blank. And I'm kind of like, it does read a little bit like, I am both everything and therefore nothing. And it's like, jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. And I do think it's okay to just pick one thing and do it really well. And I also think, like, on that note, we are in this moment of like, well, I think the literary world, the publishing world, from what I have gleaned, I'm certainly not an expert, is very trend chasing. And I think we are in this moment where writers are really aligning themselves with, okay, what's the next trend? Like, how can I fit into the commercial market kind of thing? But in this moment where everybody's a writer and nobody's a writer, that I just don't think it really is doing you as a writer any favors, because the market is so saturated that to try and cash in on the trends, there's a lot less cash because there's just a lot more people doing it. Like, everybody. I published my first book, and I was like, oh, I've published a book. And I very quickly was like, well, Curtis, who hasn't? And I think there's this sort of like gleeful way that people have taken on the tropes and the like really sort of like broadcasting the tropes that their book falls into, and the trends that it's taking part in, which I find revolting. But I do think it also does no service to you as a writer, because you are constantly like, you're kind of one step behind at all times. Like you're writing not from a place of curiosity, but from a place of like critical response of like, okay, well, that's how these books work, so I'm going to do that too. You're kind of always chasing this dragon that's always, in flight. I think for me, the, main piece of advice I have is like, just zero in on the thing that you're obsessed with and that you find really interesting, and just write that, and just write what you want to write, not what is getting rewarded. Because what is getting rewarded, by the time you've finished really writing a decent piece of, hopefully, literature, it's going to have changed.
One thing I've noticed with my guests on the show is everybody has a different starting point And with your background,
Mm.
your starting point's completely different than someone who hasn't lived and done what you've done prior to writing your books. How does your background and what you've done theater-wise and all the other writing you've done to help you to craft a better story now as an author? Because it's a little bit different than what you've done in the past. What storytelling things have you brought from your past into writing your books?
Oh, that's a really great question. I mean, my past is very much a part of everything I do as a writer, which can kind of sometimes be nice because it does make everything that I've done in my life feel as if it is like amounting to something, some sort of like cumulative artistic, I don't know, exploration. That's what I'm going to call it the next time I do something stupid. I mean, my upbringing in a rural area of Canada is as a gay kid is very much on display in most of what I do, especially the Mason County novels, and the theater training. I studied as a playwright in university, and it's such a specific skill that also has shocked me how much it has rippled out into the rest of my creative practice, just in general as an artist. I would say young adult fiction, the way that it is being written and the form that is widely accepted right now, the first person present tense is essentially just a character monologue. I don't do many things well in this life, but I write a really mean character monologue. So trying to find a way, not even trying to find a way, that translating into a full novel was surprisingly easy. The first draft of the book was written in the past tense, and when my editor read it for the first time, he was like, "So YA right now is primarily written in the present tense, first person present tense." And I was like, "Okay, yeah." And I tinkered with it, and I was like, this is just a character monologue, which for comedy is great because it's if you're not writing from this like you're not this objective narrator, it's a person telling their life as it's happening, which is perfect for comedy because it's coming straight from their brain, straight from the source. And I've really enjoyed writing that. I'm a little, I think to do first person present tense effectively is a bit exhausting, and I'm a little burnt out on it at the moment. Maybe I will return to it one day, but the way that I was able to fold in essentially some very basic dramaturgical elements was really cool, really rewarding. I enjoyed that.
Nice. So what are some key elements to that killer character or monologue? Like, what is there any kind of key points that you would encourage an author that's listening going, I don't really do that, or I haven't really considered that for my own writing? Some key points?
Yeah, the tone, it allows you to do a bit of a grander, more subjective tone. Subjective tone and perspective. It allows you to find, I think if you have a good sense of how this character sees the world and how they talk, so much of your questions, so many questions as a writer are answered for you. And it just comes down to, okay, well, how would that character respond? Great. That's literally how they can respond on the page, not in dialogue, not in just literally in the prose and the narration. And and the sort of eternal present of it is also something that is very often at play with monologues. Your character is discovering this story as it's happening. That I think can keep things. I don't think it can keep things very active, which can be tiring at times, but very rewarding if you're doing a fast-paced kind of thing. There is a sort of, I think it's a really, there's a challenge to really sinking into that character's point of view that I think if you are the type of writer who enjoys writing as an active imagination that can allow you to transcend your own personality and your own, the trappings of your life, it can be really fun to live as that character in your head for a little bit. Yeah.
How do you keep a reader in mind, though, when you're focused so much on the character and their own internal monologue and that side of it? You still got to bring an audience along in the story. How do you keep that connection alive with a reader?
Next thing. You can't wallow on, or you can't sort of splash around in the characters. You can't splash around in the same little pool of emotion for very long. You do have to really keep in mind, okay, and then what happens, and then what happens. And I think part of it, something that I have really trained myself to do is, and this is just if you write comedy like I do, make yourself laugh and move on. Make yourself laugh and move on. I think you're always just the character voice has to either the character voice has to really contribute to to the story and how it's being told. And for me, that's always a question of okay, find the laugh. That's making me laugh. Great. Now let it go. I am not gonna I'm not gonna splash around in this because the point has been made. Let's move on. I think that is part of it. And I think you do have to just look at yourself as the reader. What is the kind of thing that I want to read is a question that I think you have to ask yourself at all times as a writer, because otherwise, I don't know, who are you writing this for? I do think at a certain point, you just have to, the idea of keeping the reader in mind, you do have to be that reader.
Right. Let's talk about Dragging Mason County. When did this book come out? When did you start this project?
The book came out in 2023, and I started it in a real, I'm putting chapters together kind of way in the fall of 2020. I worked in the theater. There was no work for a very long time. And I also worked at Canada's first, and as far as I know, only queer theater space in theater, performance space, bar, Buddies and Bad Times. And I was surrounded by drag all the time and kind of thought nothing of it. And then, not that I thought nothing of drag, I loved drag. I wrote a whole book about it. But, you do take it for granted that there's a vibrant queer community that I'm surrounded by, it's 8:30 and I'm zipping a drag queen's dress at the stage door because I was just the person who was nearest, and that's just another part of your day. And I was like, okay, great. I've been really committed into the theater world for so long. I finally have time to try something more long form, and a YA book about a bunch of teenagers doing drag sounded really fun and politically apparently controversial. I have since found. Didn't really think so at the time. Yeah, it was just I would just write these chapters trying to make my drag sister laugh, and that was really all the project was at the time. And I was like, yeah, at some point I'd like to start shopping this out. And then Anik press here in Toronto said yes to the book.
So, okay, what you mentioned kind of that a little bit of pushback, I guess, from readers about the book. Like, what was it that people weren't resonating with? Like,
yeah, so I think it was less readers. I mean, I think it is a very acerbic. I don't think it is. I know it's a very acerbic, dry kind of humor comedy that I write in, which is not for everyone. I think there's a sort of those of us with maybe more conservative, and I mean that just like within queer readers as well, people with more conservative sensibilities don't really enjoy it. I write mean characters. I write characters who are actively trying to further their own goals, which are often quite self-serving because they're human beings, and it's, largely what we do. And I mean, that's its own thing. Critically, it was really well received. Like the reviewers loved it. It got some award nominations, which was great. But the pushback to it came from the places that you would expect a book called Dragging Mason County with a drag queen on the cover would come from. There was this really weird, and I've written about this, so I really should write about it more extensively. There's quite a bit of time between the book, the publisher pressing print, and the book being available on bookshelves. And between the print being pushed and the book coming out, the way that drag was being sort of moral panicked, not sort of, the way that drag was being picked up for moral panic by the right really intensified, because it was coming at a time when trans and gender diverse people were really starting to find a bit of footing legally in healthcare, in public institutions, like in schools. So drag, and especially drag storytime events, were being. I always think Helen Lovejoy in The Simpsons. Won't somebody please think of the children? Actually, the book launch event for Dragging Mason County, it was a drag show. It was a night of drag that I called "Won't somebody please think of the children?" So it was being I would say politicized, but like I think that calling it politicized is kind of a nothing statement, because it is, of course, inherently political. But it was being turned into a moral panic very consciously by I say alt-right, which has at this point in America has become, and in a lot of Canada, has become the right. Nazi groups were showing up to drag storytime events.
Really? In
full Nazi regalia. In Canada, at Fort York Public Library, in the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, had a White Lives Matter neo-Nazi group showing up to protest. Faye and Fluffy, who are two really fantastic drag queens here in Toronto, they are the people who introduced me to the idea of a drag story time, which, as it was the first one that they held at Buddy's in Bad Times during Pride, and it was I was working the box office and front of house for the event. I had never heard of one of those. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. That'll be like I thought it'd be like a fun little thing for the parents to hang out and chat. And it was so fun, and it was so lovely. And they were so, like, it's just a kid's show. They just do a kid's show. They do let's read a book. Like it's reading, it's a reading rainbow that makes space for kids who maybe are not totally heteronormative leaning, but also is just like a fun thing for everybody to enjoy, regardless. And they have faced quite severe, like real in your face protest and violence. And this was all like ballooning between print and the book being on the shelf. And I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. The book was a critical hit and not a commercial hit. So I didn't really worry about it too much. And then two things happened in very, very close to one another in 2004, which was 2004, late 2004, early 2005, maybe. Which was one, it was leaked that Meta had used a whole data pile of books to train their AI, move fast before legislation can do anything kind of thing, which was sort of, for me, it was kind of quietly devastating. And that happened. And then the American Department of Defense banned my book along with, I think, 500, maybe 600 other books.
Really?
Like they had, I mean, speaking of AI, they had probably just used a large language model to say, scrub for any books that have remotely anything to do with gender diversity and, LGBTQ plus woke,
Yeah.
It is a moral panic. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to. It's about emotion. And they had banned the book along with all the other books in, I think, about 162 of the schools in the States, or actually not even just the States. They have schools worldwide because it's the Department of Defense. So any of their military base schools.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially any children in growing up on a military base were told very, in a very clear way, you are not allowed.
Yes.
And yeah, that's my answer to your question.
Wow. All right. Now, the one thing I'm looking at on your website for Dragon Mason County, there's a North American edition and an Australian edition. Does that have anything to do with the book itself? Or like, I've never seen it on a website before.
It got published in Australia.
Okay.
By University of Queensland Press.
Cool.
Who are a really lovely, really cool publisher. But yeah, it's the book in Australia is called The Queens of Rural Realness, which is hilarious in an Australian accent. I was like, you guys, you could have just kept it as it is. I mean, publishers change book title names all the time, just depending on what would work for the market. But I loved the idea of so many R's being demanded of the Australian accent. It fills me with delight.
I like that.
Yeah.
Did they change any content as well beyond the title?
It was cool. They it is an Australian edition in the literal sense of the term. They had a really great editing team who went through the book and they were like, hey, what if we change this word to this word? Because it's, that word, means something kind of different in Australia, or we would call it this, which was delightful. And I hope, like, if anything that if any of my books get, published in other countries, I really hope that happens often because it was delightful. Yeah.
All right. So that was the first shot for you, getting that out there into the world. You have a new book coming out. Let's talk a little bit about the newest project. What is it about? What's the title? Let's get into that. It's
called Lying, Stealing, and Other Ways to Save the Planet. And yeah, it really rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it's good.
I like a memorable title, and memorable by which I mean maybe kind of hard to remember. The book is about a teenage journalist who is trying to stop a a land development, like a private business development going up on a conservation area that his late grandfather founded. And to do so, he has to essentially, he chooses to eschew his more, his journalistic standards and team up with the high school birdwatching club to achieve his goals by more, I guess we'll say, not nefarious means, but certainly maybe not a totally above board means. So this book's got blackmail. It's got breaking and entering. It's got the tagline I'm finding with it is the tagline is going green and getting even. And the sort of tongue-in-cheek tagline I've been playing with this one is the classic be gay, do crimes, which is what they do. So it's about a group of young people trying to affect change in their immediate area, in their community, despite the growing anxiety that they very rightly feel about the state of the environment and their powerlessness or agent, the sort of battle between do I have agency in this? Am I powerless to affect change?
So is that social environment, physical environment, both?
Both. I mean, they're like, I find young people who can so clearly, I find it so inspiring, and inspiring is maybe a bit of a pandering or paternalistic word maybe, but like, because I don't know, you look at people like Greta Thunberg and you're like, my being older than you has truly nothing to do with like, you are so smart and forward thinking and like a real leader in political change. So I love writing young people who are as sort of angry and fed up as I was at that age and remain, and who choose to, to be the change that they want to see.
So for this one, then, this comes out in the spring. This is this time of year. So when is the release date for us?
It comes out on May 5th.
May 5th. Okay.
In Canada. And yeah, it's a nice springtime release, I think. Canada, the sun is coming back in Ontario. So it's a nice time to think about the environment and the corporate overlords who are trying to destroy it.
Your ideal reader is going to love it. Who is it? Who's this person? Who's this person who's going to love this book?
I mean, you write young audience. You write young audience. I see. This is a thing in theater. We call it theater for young audiences, and it took me a long time to not call it books for young audiences or young audience books. I mean, you write young adult fiction for young adults, and my ideal reader is, like, to be totally frank, I did not read young adult fiction when I was in that age bracket because it was very I think the big ever-present stuff was the Hunger Games and stuff that really centered romance, which I had no interest in. And as a angry young gay boy in the middle of nowhere, I was like, I don't. A romance is not in the cards for me right now. Yeah. And so it didn't. It held very little interest to me, and I found I found YA either like kind of condescending to its audience or really leaning into the trends, which like dystopian fiction with dystopian fiction, and there's a romance, baby, and you better believe it's a love triangle. Which I never really got the term love triangle, because I'm like, love triangle to me implies that everyone in the triangle has feelings for everyone in the triangle. I'm like, that's just like a little carrot. Like, that's they both love her, but that's not a triangle. The boys also should be lusting after each other when they're lusting after the girl. That's a love triangle. Anyway, I digress. So I was like, none of this is of interest to me for so many reasons. And I was like I was reading books that are perfect for teenage readers, but were not specifically written for them. Like, I don't know. I think there's a reason that teenagers have their Kurt Vonnegut phase, because he's perfect for teenagers. Like he's saying something. He's making a very like incisive jab, usually at like bureaucracy or the ways that we choose to live our life that are like contradictory to one another and like very sort of fake and phony, in the why teenagers also love reading Catcher in the Rye. But it's funny. Like I remember reading Slaughterhouse-Five for the first time and being like, this is so funny and smart and twisted and like quiet. And that was I remember, did you ever read Robertson Davies?
No, I haven't.
Fifth Business.
Okay. All right.
I remember reading that for the first time.
Yeah.
Or like Timothy Finley, my God. And just being like, these are, they felt like such perfect teenage reads.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, both were just like brilliant masters of their craft who I think anybody 15 and over can get so much out of. But yeah, that was the kind of thing that I was drawn to, because it felt that it was trying to provoke rather than placate. And I wanted to write something that fit firmly within the confines of YA, but that was also that provoked rather than placated. And I hope that I have achieved that.
So, okay, let's talk. I want to wrap up before we head to the exit here. The curtain is coming down. There you go. Let's talk a little bit about the website and people can connect with you, Curtis, because I want people to be in your world and following your journey. I hope there's more and more and more from you in the future. But talk about your website a little bit. I have a question to wrap up our conversation today. But yeah, tell us where we're going to go.
You can find me on the internet, Curtis Campbell. Curtis Camp Writes, I think, is my Weebly. I need to get a better website. I dislike being on the internet very much. I'm currently on Instagram. That sort of changes by the day. I think politically, feeding the beast that is Meta right now is
right,
morally incorrect. So I am on there to post about my book right now, feeling deeply hypocritical. And yeah, it depends on the day.
Okay. One lie from you to go along with the title of your book. One lie and one stolen thing that you'd like to admit to. Could be stealing an idea or stealing something. I don't know. But one lie, one thing stolen from you. It's time to admit. Let's go. Cough it up. What do you got?
Stolen
from you.
100%. I one lie. I am so excited to be launching my brand new TikTok account. We're going to be reviewing everything, anything at all. If you can send it to me in a box, I'll open it. I will make a little ASMR video of myself opening it, and oh boy, I'll tell you how excited I am to live under late stage capitalism and just try to just commodify every part of myself.
Great lie. Good.
And a convincing one.
Yes.
Stealing. I every time my partner and I watch 30 Rock and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, at least once an episode, he will turn to me and say, "They could sue you, Curtis," and and maybe they should, and I think you owe them money at this point. And I am not going to deny that I have stolen so much of my comedic sensibilities from the team behind 30 Rock, a lot of British comedy. Like I'm just a little magpie that way. If it makes me laugh, I go, okay, great.
Okay, and also from the title, one thing we can do to save our planet. Come on, what do you got?
I think that this idea that we labored for so long accepting the idea that individual consumerist habits were the thing that was going to change the terrifying impacts of climate change. I think that we have been completely right to turn the focus around on the minority of people who are profiting off the destruction of our planet. The Sam Altmans, the Elon Musk. Like, yes, they should be. They are committing crimes against humanity, and that is not hyperbolic to say. But within that, I think there is a little bit of a I'm gonna get what's mine. I'm gonna do what's right for me, and like my individual consumer habits are not the real problem. They're not the real problem, but they are contributing. I do think we owe it to ourselves to say the social media being a great example. The damage that it is doing environmentally, especially with stuff like ChatGPT and the amount of resources and the amount of damage that the amount of space and natural resources that are required to power it. There is this real sense right now of well, I can't do anything about that. We have to delete. We really have to reject these platforms and what they are doing by saying, I will not participate, because it is the participation that creates it, not the, you can be critical all you want, but if you are participating, that is the only thing that matters. We don't live in a qualitative culture. We live in a quantitative culture. Metrics and numbers are the only thing that matter. And God, I'm saying this, and I'm like, I should just delete my Instagram again. I
having an intervention right now.
I hate that we have to the amount of cultural space that we have given to social media and the way that we have centralized social media, so much of our cultural infrastructure, for lack of a better, on social media makes leaving it incredibly difficult, which was the point. So yeah, we gotta delete the apps. We gotta delete the profiles. Here's what I'm saying. Here's my pitch to everybody. This is what we can do. We all need to get back into email newsletters. I don't no more posting on social media. I want curated monthly newsletters from you in my inbox. And if I want to read it, I will read it. But you have to really put in an hour's work to making this newsletter and sending it out.
Right.
I think that's going to change the quality of communication. And I think that's going to really free up some mental space for us.
Beautiful. I like it. Lying, stealing, and other ways to save the planet. It's coming out very soon, everybody. Make sure you go grab a copy. We'll have the link to the website for Curtis here as well, for you to go and fall in love with this. You know somebody's going to love this. And if you love young adult novels, we got the right one for you, Curtis. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Love to have you come back in the future. You keep writing, keep doing stories. Come back. Love to have you back again.
I would love to be back again.
Awesome. Everyone, information is always in the show notes. go grab a copy of Lying, Stealing, and Other Ways to Save the Planet, and everything else that Curtis is writing. Leave great reviews, let people know, and share this with somebody so they'll go also support Curtis as well. I know Curtis would love to hear from you, so reach out and sign up for his newsletter. And follow him on Instagram, apparently.
You can sign up for my newsletter. I do have a newsletter. I am trying to practice what I preach.
And stay tuned, because TikTok is coming, apparently, for Curtis as well. Fun. So that's going to be so great. Awesome. So thank you so much, Curtis. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. Glad to have you here. I just want to let you know that you can always find out what we're doing live in the moment by going to our YouTube channel. Head over to livingthenextchapter.com. There'll be a link right there. Head over to our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things that all the YouTubers love to say. And in our YouTube channel, a couple things. You're going to get advanced listens. You're going to get the episodes that we're working on in real time. So we record and post daily on our YouTube channel. I'd love for you to give us a follow over there. As well, we're making playlists. We have over 500 episodes. So finding the right episode for you, we're trying to group things into playlists. So if you like children's books, if you like business, you like historical fiction, we're grouping our authors together to make it a little easier for you to find your favorite next author. So head over to livingthenextchapter.com. And again, I'd love to hear from you. Hearing from the listeners of the show is great. And I just want to say thank you for being a part of the podcast family. And I look forward to having you back for the next episode. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time and your listen. Take care.